Good evening. Argyle are on the charge. 14 matches unbeaten now and top of the table approaching the end of October. Can they keep the form going tonight? Under the lights here at Home Park. Welcome to Argyle TV. We are live here at Home Park tonight as Argyle take on Shrewsbury Town this evening. It's a place, of course, here at Home Park that Argyle don't like losing. And in fact, they are yet to drop a point in the league here so far. So it doesn't look like they're going to be breaking that record anytime soon, or at least we hope not anyway. The visitors, Shrewsbury, they've had a pretty decent start to the season as well. They're currently sitting 10th in the league, 3 points outside the playoff places at the moment, and they have won 3 of their last 4 matches. So we should have an intriguing evening planned. And to help guide you through it, I am joined by former ladies captain Katie Middleton. Good evening, Katie. How are you this evening?
Good, thank you.
Now, we're at that kind of time of the season where things are getting a little bit more serious, but it's also fair to say I think Argyle have had more than just a good start to the season now, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're 15 games into the season now, aren't we? And it's an unbelievable start to the season, really. I don't think anyone would necessarily have expected us to be top of the table at any point. So, yeah, a great start to the season, and hopefully it can carry on again tonight.
And another Tuesday night under the lights here at Home Park. And, you know, as we mentioned in the introduction to everyone here, Argyle have yet to lose a point in the league here. So it's one of those things that as the league ticks on, the pressure, I guess, grows a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But I think pressure that the players will be relishing. And, you know, they're unbeaten here for a reason because they've played some great football and, you know, got some really good results here. So, yeah, again, something they'll definitely be looking to build on as much as they possibly can. And, like I said, hopefully another 3 points again tonight.
And with good form comes the huge crowds. They're starting to fill in behind us. I think we are due in for a sold-out crowd this evening here at Home Park. I mean, it must be fantastic for the team to come out and see the entirety of the stadium just filled with fans ready to cheer them on.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it makes a massive difference. I mean, you look behind us now and, like you say, the crowd is starting to arrive, and to know that there's that much support behind you and a massive crowd here is definitely going to be something that the players will look forward to again this evening. you know, it's not the nicest of evenings, but they'll come out in their droves to support a team that are doing really well, and long may that continue.
And even if the weather's not so good, there are certainly worse places to be than Home Park on a Tuesday night. Katie is going to be with us throughout the rest of the pre-match show. But before then, we will be hearing all things from Argyle Camp and also Project 35, which we'll take a little bit of a look at in a moment. Today's game, in fact, is dedicated to the charity which was set up in the summer by Argyle, the Community Trust and Ginsters in a bid to fight poverty in Plymouth. Dwayne Morgan, one of the leaders of the project, is going to be joining us in just a second to talk about it. But first, here is a little bit more about Project 35.
Project 35 has made an incredible start and we're off to a really, really good, positive launch. Through the summer, we've had some of our holiday hunger projects running in Plymouth and Devon and across Cornwall too. We've seen somewhere between kind of 11 to 12,000 young people. They've engaged in a day of fun and sport. They've also done some enrichment activities, and probably most important at Project 35, they've had hot and cold meals made available to them. What's been really rewarding from Project 35 and linked to our holiday hunger projects is that our Project 35 partner, Ginsters, have donated just over 13,000 items of stock, in which case we've managed to make sure every young person that comes on our courses has left with a hamper, not just for them but for their family, to make sure that we're playing a role in overcoming weekend hunger as well. So outside of our kind of summer holiday and holiday hunger and weekend poverty work, and we've also been doing some targeted food support and isolation work across the communities of Stonehouse and Whitley. We're currently supporting about 35 to 40 families a week. To date, we've supported and passed out, you know, just over 200 weekly food hampers to try and ensure that Project 35 is working with those that are the furthest away or most disengaged from mainstream support. And we've got Project 35 staff and some of the Argyle Community Trust staff driving hampers around on a weekly basis. And to date, we've probably fed over 1,000 local people. Ginsters have been a fantastic charitable partner and a serious contributor to Project 35. When we first met and briefed and kind of drew up plans for Project 35, the one thing that both organisations were really passionate about was supporting that weekend hunger movement. And like I said, not only have Ginsters donated, you know, over 13,000 items of stock to help overcome that particular issue. They've supported with drivers, they've procured companies to come and move stock around. You know, we've been supporting people as far down as kind of Penzance, been up in North Devon, we've been into Torbay and South Hams, and of course across the entire south coast of Plymouth and the south coast of Cornwall. So without Ginsters' support, with logistics, with staff and resource, and with the stock, we just wouldn't be able to service some of the remote communities that we have. And it's that passion and drive and that contribution from Ginsters that have allowed us through Project 35 to ensure that the people that are often forgotten or underserved have had access to weekend food. We need people. We need the Green Army, we need our fans, we need our partners and supporters, both commercial partners and kind of local community partners too. Ultimately, what we are learning through our Project 35 journey is food insecurity, fuel poverty, deprivation and poverty more broadly is complex. It's complex and it's vast. And you know, in order to have a significant impact on reducing poverty and celebrating opportunities for people to get involved and drive social change, we need people. For anybody that signs up and volunteers to Pledge 35, they may be asked to kind of help us deliver, drive and move some of the stock around different towns, different communities, to make sure we're helping to overcome kind of weekday hunger, weekend hunger. We've got a call to action out to help get some literature and books around local schools where there's high levels of literacy poverty. We need people helping to support with picking and packing. You know, moving food hampers and stock around the counties is not easy, so we need people in helping us to prepare stuff. We're also after fans and local people helping us drive up donations too, so getting hold of stock, whether that's blankets to overcome fuel poverty or coats, hats and scarves, you know, with the winter months coming, whether it's non-perishable food items, pencil cases, school uniform, literature and books, you know, any way that they can contribute and collect and donate into us, that would be appreciated too. And I suppose one of the biggest commitments we want to make through Pledge 35 is to try and signpost local people to local organisations that need support also. You know, we've been working very closely with Fair Share South West, we've been working very closely with Transforming Plymouth Together, Action for Children, the Plymouth Children in Poverty Network, you know, and now the world's reopening in a kind of post-pandemic community, they need support too. We feel that we've got a role to play in linking local organisations that need support with local people that have time and a willingness to contribute. The easiest way is to go onto our website, pafc.co.uk/project35. On there's a sign up link. We ask for some really basic details and a kind of commitment to what they'd like to get involved in. Someone from our Project 35 team will then get in contact and we'll work with that person and signpost them to a charity or a cause that they're kind of passionate about.
There we go, a nice little introduction to Project 35 for you, and I'm joined now by Dwayne Morgan, who you will have just seen on your screen a moment ago. Dwayne, just introduce yourself, your role within the Argyle Community Trust and Project 35, first of all.
Sure, yeah, I'm Dwayne Morgan. My official title, I suppose, is Head of Business and Impact for the Argyle Community Trust. So we're the Sport for Change charity that works alongside the football club with their official charitable partner. We try and use sport, education, health and well-being to improve people's life chances across Plymouth, Devon and Cornwall. Yeah.
Now, Project 35 took over as the sponsor for this season here at Argyle. Talk to me about how that came about, first of all, and then we'll go into the work that we've kind of seen you doing on the screen there.
Sure, I mean, we're incredibly fortunate. Ginsters, as a kind of partner, lead partner of the club, were incredibly kind and said, look, we wanted to gift that front of shirt air coverage, I suppose, to a good cause. And we've been working very closely with food charities, with fuel poverty and with social isolation during the pandemic. And as a club and a community trust, we felt that we wanted to make an ongoing commitment with the world opening back up, with the stadiums filling back up.
Yeah.
We wanted an opportunity to continue raising the profile, I suppose, of some of the local needs in the city. And of course, the title and number, 35, comes from the fact that 35% of children in our city experience a daily poverty.
Okay.
That's a pre-pandemic, pre-Brexit, pre-cost of living crisis. So unfortunately, that stat is probably now much higher.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But ultimately, it's about using that title to get people talking about poverty and the needs of people in the city.
And tonight's game in particular is a Project 35 takeover game, is that right?
It absolutely is, yeah. So we're going to use tonight's game, the sellout crowd under the lights, to try and raise as much awareness as we can of the local charities and the good causes that already exist in our city. Try and use the stadium, the fans, the players, the badge to get people talking and exploring about how they can help. And of course, we're running our kind of Less Can Poverty initiative tonight. So we've asked every fan to come along tonight to bring a tin or a can or some food or some cereal. And already, thanks to the generosity of the fans, we've already turned away 3 full delivery vans.
Wow.
They've already headed down to Plymouth Food Bank. And we've currently got a 4th being filled up as we speak. So we're hoping to get 5 full vans of stock down to the local food bank, who we know are struggling at the moment.
Yeah.
And they can't service the families that need support.
I mean, that is a fantastic effort so far. And I suppose it's worth mentioning now, if you are watching from home and you've yet to make it to Home Park tonight, bring a can along. There's still time. You're still collecting them. But if people maybe have forgotten this evening or aren't coming to the game, but they want to help out, there are still ways that they can perhaps, bring those kind of food goods, can't they?
Absolutely, yeah. 2 really prominent ways. So we're also running a project called Pledge 35. So we're asking fans to give up 35 hours of their time throughout the season to come and support local causes. That could be the football club and the community trust, or it could be going to support one of the local charities that are out there already.
Yeah.
DCFA, Provide Devon, Fair Share Southwest, who are guests here this evening. We're asking them to come and help.
Yeah. And we've just seen Gary Sawyer there as well on the VT that was playing. He's one of the ambassadors, isn't he? Does he get involved quite a lot with Project 35? I saw him there driving the van around helping you
Gary
collect
was
the food.
great. Yeah, Gary's a great ambassador of both the trust and the club, so he helps us across all of our community provisions, but he's also incredibly passionate about Project 35. So the video clip you'd have just seen was me and Gary working with the first team playing squad, the managers and the coaching staff. They very kindly donated some money to the cause, and me and Gary went last Friday to collect quite a significant amount of money's worth of stock, and that too went in the vans today as a kind of thank you and support from the playing squad to go down and say, look, we want to get involved too. So that was an incredibly rewarding experience, and we're very grateful for the players for putting their support behind it as well.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us, Dwayne, and explaining about Project 35. Hopefully we'll get lots more tins in this evening, and people know that they can come to Manadon Sports Hub, is that right, if they've got anything else to donate?
That's great. Any other stock, come and see us at Manadon and we can get it down to the food banks.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dwayne Morgan from Project 35, joining us this evening. And of course, you can find out more about the project over on the Argyle website, pafc.co.uk. And well, with this week being half term, it's being used as a real push for Project 35, and the players went out to Callington yesterday to help with some food donations.
Being at the Project 35 festival, handing out shirts and Kingsters pasties to the young lot, a lot of kids, and been having fun. And we've also been getting involved with them on the pitch, kicking the ball around, and I've been in goal saving everything.
Yeah, it's great to give back, especially a foundation like this. It's great to come out and see the kids and go in net and have a bit of a laugh with them. It's a great cause, and you know, I think every player would like to come and do it. No, never. No, I don't think it does. I don't think when you're from 19 to 32, you don't think you never get bored of signing young kids' tops. Anyone's tops, really, any fan's tops, but especially when they're young kids and you see how much it means to them. I remember doing it. I remember getting signatures as a kid and keeping them for years. So no, it's a great thing.
Of course it does, yeah. Especially if the local and they're going on with the home shirt and Argyle. You see how happy they are as well, and they're buzzing like the little kids and that, so it's really good to see.
A fantastic initiative and very heartening to see. Right, who is ready for some team news? We'll have a look at that coming up just after this.
Bad ball in, a good goal, Borja. Still progress into the second division.
Welcome back. Right, let's take a look at the team news for you this evening and find out exactly who is involved in your Argyle starting lineup tonight. A couple of changes since the last game we've seen, and they are as follows. In goal this evening, we have Michael Cooper, Jordan Houghton. James Wilson is captaining the squad tonight. Matt Butcher in the number 7 shirt. Ryan Hardy back in the starting lineup. And Connor Grant as well, one to mention, which we'll talk about in a moment. He is starting for the first time in a league game since April. Barley Mumba, Finn Azaz, Morgan Whitaker, Adam Randall, and finally Nigel Lonvike. And then making up your substitutions, Callum Burton, Joe Edwards, Niall Ennis, Sam Cosgrove, Brendan Galloway, Finlay Crask, and Will Jenkins. Davies, Katie, what are you making of the lineup that we're seeing in front of us this evening?
Yeah, he's obviously tried to freshen things up a little bit and made 3 changes from the weekend. I think it'll be interesting to see who he plays in that left-sided centre-half position, whether that'll be Butcher, who's played there previously, or whether Connor Grant goes in there. Obviously, it looks as though Barley Mumba will play potentially on the right side rather than on the left, which we've kind of become slightly more accustomed to him doing with Joe Edwards dropping out. And he's got those decisions again, hasn't he, with the strikers every week. Yeah. They're all scoring, and he's obviously chosen today to try and use that pace of Hardy as much as he can and look to get in behind the Shrewsbury backline as much as they can. So, yeah, fresh legs and hoping again for another positive outcome.
Yeah, I think we've spoken before on, previous Argyle TVs. It's such a luxury to have the striking talent that Stephen Schumacher has, that he can essentially rotate them around and still be guaranteed goals pretty much.
Yeah, definitely. And they've all been amongst the goals this season, and you've obviously got the likes of Azaz and Whitaker who are playing in behind, who are also contributing to goals. So yeah, definitely a luxury for Stephen Schumacher to have, and one a headache, but a good headache for him to have.
And before we look at the Shrewsbury team, Conor Grant as well, back in the starting lineup. He is popular amongst fans. I think they'll be very pleased to see him back straight off the bat this evening, right?
Yeah, and I think he was probably one of the first names on the team sheet last season and was a regular for Argyle, and he popped up with important goals at important times, and the fans for sure will be really pleased to see him back this evening. And he's obviously had his issues with injuries and whatnot as the season started, but good to see him back in midweek in the Papa John's Trophy. Got a good run out then, 60 minutes or so I'm sure he'll be raring to go this evening and looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the side that Conor and all the rest of the team are up against now. Tonight we are playing Shrewsbury Town. They are managed by Steve Cotterill, and their squad is as follows. In goal, Marco Morosi, Luke Leahy captaining the team, Matthew Pennington, Carl Winchester, Rob Street, Elliot Bennett, Tom Bayliss, Che Dunkley, Christian Sadie, Jordan Shipley and Tom Flanagan. And then you will also see the selection of players that are up on the bench on the right-hand side of your screen there as well. Katie, we mentioned before at the beginning of this show that Shrewsbury have been doing pretty well, winning I think the last 3 of their 4 games. Strong defensive side. They've only conceded 15 goals in 15 games. What are you making of them as an opposition for Argyle tonight?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tricky game, and as with kind of every game in this league, it's never easy. I think, yes, Shrewsbury haven't conceded many as the season's gone on, but they also haven't scored that many. I think they've scored 14 this season. So a side who are fairly compact and, don't concede many, but, are they going to be a threat going the other way? I think they've made one change from the weekend again with a switch up front with one of the strikers. I think it's going to be a close game. But like I say, no games are easy in this league.
And also when you've established that kind of, track record here at Home Park, Argyle certainly don't want to be taking a loss here at home to a side that are much further down. Well, not much further down, but they're 10th in the league. Would you say that Shrewsbury are perhaps punching above their weight in terms of a playoff place at this point?
I mean, potentially, but I think it's there to play for tonight, isn't it? And Shrewsbury, yes, they lost at the weekend, but actually, if you look at their results, they've not lost consecutively in the league at all this season. So that's something that we'll have to change tonight if we want to get the 3 points. But like I say, it's going to be a tough game and one that the fans will be looking forward to, and I'm sure the players will be looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, not only would 3 points get Home Park rocking, as we like to say, but I think it would also put Argyle even more comfortably at the top of the table, give them a little more breathing room than they have at the moment, although, of course, doing very well so far. Don't forget, you can get in touch with us on the social media channels. Twitter is the best one. Katie, I should mention we have had a tweet come in already from our famous Japanese supporters at Samaki Bones. It's in my phone in my pocket, so I can't get it out. But I know that you have already screenshotted me and Katie chatting away on Argyle TV already. So more of that, please. And from the rest of you, wherever you're watching, let us know. And get in touch and just talk to us about what you're looking forward to in the game this evening. Now, somebody who certainly won't be underestimating Shrewsbury tonight is our own manager, Stephen Schumacher, who is keen to stress that Saturday's draw could be very crucial in the weeks to come.
I thought on the day that point was a good result because of the way the game went. When we've looked back at the data and our actual performance, then a point is probably a better result. Bristol Rovers, created more opportunities than us and had a higher XG. So our 2 goals were absolute worldies from outside the box. They created probably clearer chances. So on the face of it, it was a good point. Tough place to go, as we said it would be. And we managed to get away from there with a 1 point and we move on.
We've made loads of the first third or so of the season about the teams that we've played against, the position we've got to. It almost feels like we're entering a new phase now where teams will play against Argyle, whether it's home or away, and look at us as a scalp, as the team that's at the top of the league, and their approach will start to be different, won't it?
But possibly. I think when you're sitting at the top of the league, everyone understands that you've been doing well, you've been doing something right, because otherwise you wouldn't have them types of points. So they'll have to get their organisation right, and as you say, that their managers, it must be easy for them to say, come on, we want to be the first one to beat them. They haven't lost in however many games it is now, 11 is it, I think, whatever it is. So, yeah, people will be wanting to beat us, and we've got to be ready for that. We understand where we're sitting at the top of the league, and we know how we've got there. We know what we've done well as a team, and also areas that we still think we need to improve on. So, yeah, we're not going to rest and just think it's going to be easy because we're at the top. We've got to be right for every single game.
Most definitely. Let's turn our attention to Tuesday night at home park. It's going to be another full, if not very, very close to being full against Shrewsbury Town. What are you expecting from them? They've been quite hit and miss, haven't they, lately? They either win or they lose, it seems, Shrewsbury, but they've been a bit inconsistent. But they've got some good players. They have.
They're slightly different as well. I watched them back a couple of weeks ago when we were playing MK Dons. That was the game I watched, and I thought they played well on that day. Passed the ball really well. Deservedly won that game. And then, as you've just said, they lost at the weekend to Charlton. Probably didn't play as well as they would have wanted to play, but yeah, I think like every team in League One, they've got some good quality. They're well organised, don't give up an awful lot. They're a threat from set pieces, so we have to make sure that we're right and we play as well as we can to try and get a result, because we've just spoken about our home form and how well we've been doing here this year, but the performance level is going to have to be just as good as it was for Sheffield Wednesday or Ipswich or Barnsley game, because Shrewsbury are not going to be an easy team, definitely not.
It's always difficult to predict what's going to happen in any League One game, but I think looking before the weekend and indeed afterwards, Bristol Rovers are up the top for goals scored and down the bottom for goals against, if you see what I mean. They've scored a lot and conceded a lot. Shrewsbury are the opposite. I think they're one of the lower scorers, but one of the lowest conceded as well, so perhaps a little bit of a tighter affair, possibly.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. So we said that, didn't we, last week when we played Bristol Rovers? We'd expect goals in the game because of yeah, as I say, their data and the information we've got on them. And you're right, Shrewsbury are one of the lower scorers, but as I say, don't give up an awful lot either. Well organised, got some good defenders. Goalkeeper's a good goalkeeper in our opinion. So yeah, it'll be a hard game, but we've just got to try and be positive about it. So we know how well we've been doing here. We didn't think we played great at the weekend, but we got a point. So our performance level is going to have to be better to get more than a point on it tomorrow night. Yeah.
Stephen Schumacher talking there. Now, we know that we had a draw on Saturday, Katie. We started off 2-0 up, and then, you know, by the end it turned out we could have lost it in the way that Bristol Rovers played. Do you think that result in the end shows what Argyle is all about, not letting it die in the last possible moments?
Yeah, I think it was that good old football cliche of a game of two halves, and Argyle were very much on top in the first half. Scored 2 fantastic goals to put them 2-0 up, and then there was always going to be a reaction from Bristol Rovers in the second half, and they showed that. You know, they came out, they got 2 early goals in the second half, and I think credit to Argyle to hang on in there in the game and not concede a third to lose the game. So I think in the end probably a fair result overall.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say there have been occasions where Argyle have unfortunately let it run away with them previously, so it was a result in itself really to see that lead not slip away into a loss.
Yeah, and I think again it shows kind of that different mentality that Argyle have got this season, and we've seen it time and time again where we've been behind and we've come back. This was maybe a different side of things where they can show that actually when things aren't going their way they can still dig in and, like we said, get the point out of the game in the end. So I think a positive result, bearing in mind Rovers' form going into the game, and something they'll definitely be looking to build on again tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it is still an incredible run. Argyle continue to pick up points along the way. What is the way of keeping that up and keeping it going throughout the coming games and ideally the whole of the season?
Yeah, I think it's consistency, isn't it? And I think so far this season Schumacher's done a really good job of keeping things fresh, and he's had those options like we've spoken about before, the strikers. You know, he can rotate and give each of them minutes. A couple of injuries at the back. Dan Scarr missing tonight again through suspension, so he'll be a miss again tonight. But it's all about just building that momentum and keeping that going with consistent performances right across the pitch.
Yeah, and this is the final game that Dan Scarr is suspended for, so it is highly likely we could see him back on the pitch for the, I would say, maybe much anticipated Halloween event that we've got coming up next week.
Yeah, everyone's looking forward to that, aren't they? It's the big one with Exeter coming here to home park. So I think Dan Scarr's been missed in the last couple of games. He really gives you that kind of solidity at the back, and he's obviously an organiser back there and kind of gets everyone in shape. So I think important to get him back and firing as quickly as we can.
Yeah. You know, the defensive lineup without Dan Scarlett has done okay, and it has only been helped by the return of none other than Brendan Galloway, who spoke to Argyle TV just yesterday.
It's another challenge. Recovered well from Saturday and trained, and I think just ready to go again. It's been a tough month. Games are coming thick and fast, but wouldn't want it any other way.
I know it's something we can't do forever, but I think as players, you want to play Saturday, Tuesday. You'd rather play than train, wouldn't you?
I'd rather play any day of the week. I love playing. You know, I love the support from the fans at the games. So, you know, it's part of the game. Sometimes you have to go through these spells where there's a lot of games to come by, but you know, something that we look forward to, something that we cherish. It's a challenge, and we're all up for it.
You're probably sick of people like me asking you things about this, about your injuries, and you'd like to move on, but obviously we've been thinking about how you've recovered from your injury. You've played a little bit. You missed a game a couple of weeks ago, and I think there were some fans a little bit worried that it was a setback, but I think it was just a blip, and you've played 290 since. So how were you feeling, first of all?
No, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. Just probably more precautionary than anything. The staff, you know, looked after me, and now I'm back playing, and really looking forward to the next game.
They talk a little bit about you know, fitness and, you know, match fitness being two different things in some ways, don't they? And does it take you a little while to get back into your old self in terms of going in for tackles or sprints or anything like that? Does it take a while, or are you able to click straight back in?
It takes maybe a few games, but now I think that I'm in that zone, I'm in that mindset. You know, probably since the first tackle in training when I came back fit. You know, you always want to get that tackle out the way to then, you know, get that confidence up. And, you know, now I don't think about it. You know, if a tackle's there to be won, I want to go in 100% and win it. And if a ball's there to be won, or if a sprint's there to be made, you know, I want to sprint and give 100%. Good
stuff. Line drawn under that. No more injury talk. Let's look forward. As I said, the game against Shrewsbury, a lot's been made about the home record. You know, we're 7 from 7 at home. We're not quite sure what teams are going to do when they come to Home Park now, what kind of approach they're going to take. I know there's a big game plan talked around each game from the management and with the players, but as a personal opinion, do you go out on a game tomorrow night and just, we're going to play our own way? What's your approach to it?
Yeah, I think that we just want to focus on how to play our game, how we can affect the game, how we can get on top of the game. I think that's the main thing from us, and you know, we're very detailed in the approach to every game. Every game's different, but again, the staff are very detailed in what they want us to do. So the game plan's always there, and then I think that's down to the players to execute it. And you know, tomorrow's going to be another tough game. We need to give 100% and stick to the game plan.
The composition of the back three has changed a few times, partly to do with selection, but also partly to do with other factors. Macaulay Gillespie out injured, Dan Scarr suspended. Yeah. But I guess as a unit, as a bunch of defenders, and I include the wing-backs in that, I assume you just, you're ready for various different scenarios, aren't you? You're planning for those kind of things, and you just kind of lock in however you have to.
Yeah, always. That's the way football has to be. You need to be ready. And I think that, you know, whoever it is, knows their responsibility, knows the job that the manager wants us to do. So it sort of makes it easier for us. It's not about who's playing there. I think that as a unit, whoever plays there, you know, we're always solid and we're always tough to break down. So you know, we all sort of learnt each other's games. So you know sort of how to be on the pitch as a unit.
You are watching Argyle TV, and we are getting closer to kick-off here at Home Park this evening. We'll be getting all the news from inside the Shrewsbury camp in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. let's have a quick look at some of your social comments now before we head over to find out more about our opponents tonight. I mentioned, of course, just a moment ago, our famous Japanese fan. In case anyone was wondering, late night or early morning, it's a late night. Very excited for the game. Jay also saying, good morning, let's get 3 points for you. Dan Scar tweeting earlier, not playing tonight, of course, but saying, what a club, looking forward to the fact that tonight is a sellout. We've also got to give a mention to Louise, who operates under the handle of Squeeze85, saying, bag of goodies dropped off for Project 35 this evening. And we've also had a message from Mr. B99, who says, I would love to be there this evening. One thing I haven't done is Home Park under the lights. For now, though, Argyle TV will have to do. Hope you're enjoying it, nonetheless there, Mr. B. We've also got Pirate Media Barbados saying, good luck to all the Argyle family watching in Barbados. I like it when we get the tweets from abroad and see who our furthest fan is. There is another one as well from the Porter's Pub Barbican saying, hi ladies, Bishy watching from Turkey, come on you pilgrims. So nice to see that Argyle TV is going nice and far across the world this evening. And finally, a mention here from John, who is just mentioning the Jack Leslie statue looking very good, lit up this evening outside Home Park. Make sure you check that out if you haven't already. Now, though, let's hear from the opposition manager. Steve Cottrell is in his second year at the helm of Shrewsbury Town, and he feels like they're in a very good place right now.
Yeah, they're at the top of the table there. Stephen's done a very good job with them since he's taken over. And, they're at the top of the table because they deserve to be there. So, we, no matter who we're playing, whether they're top of the table or bottom of the table, we always give them full respect. So, we know we've got to go down there and certainly play better than we did in the first half on Saturday.
They were so close to the playoffs, weren't they, last season? So in that regard, is it no surprise to see them doing as well as they are once again, Plymouth Argyle?
It's no surprise, and to be fair, the one thing they have done, they've invested in their squad this year. I'd imagine that their budget would have perhaps gone up a little bit in the last sort of 18 months, but Plymouth are a big club, they always have been. I've played against Plymouth when I've been in charge of Burnley in the Championship, so and they travel really, really well, and they've always got a real vocal backing at home. So yeah, they're a big club, Plymouth. People don't realise how big a club they are, but if you're from the West Country, which I am, I would know that.
Your away form this season, touch wood, has been good as well, Steve. 3 wins and 2 draws already, so take encouragement from that ahead of these couple of tough away games.
Yeah, of course we will. Our form over the season's been pretty good. We've had moments, and I think it's how you deal with them moments and how you bounce back from them. And we've pretty much done that at times this season. When there's been moments or defeats, we've bounced back, and that's what we have to do again at the weekend.
How's availability looking?
As well as tomorrow. Sorry, by the way.
How's availability looking in terms of players being available to be selected?
Well, the only one is maybe Julian Da Costa, and we just need to look at how he trains today on his availability. Other than that, we're pretty much as we are from the weekend. So, yeah, it's just Julian Da Costa, really.
A word from our rivals this evening. We are now about 20 minutes away from kickoff, so it's time to have another little look back at your teams for this evening. We will be starting with Argyle's starting 11 this evening. A couple of changes, as mentioned previously in the show, but they are up on the screen for you there. Cooper, Houghton, Wilson, Butcher, Hardy, Grant, Mumba, Azaz, Whitaker, Randall and Londvik all starting, and then we have our usual captain Joe Edwards on the bench alongside the likes of Niall Ennis, Sam Cosgrove, Brendan Galloway, Burton Crask and Jenkins Davies. Katie, we've talked about it a little bit. It's almost getting harder as the season's going on to pinpoint specific players that are standing out extremely above everyone, because everyone seems to be having quite good games as of late. I suppose maybe Finn Azaz is one that can be mentioned, is one of our kind of new signings.
Yeah, I think there were high hopes, weren't there, when Finn Azaz joined the club, and he scored on his debut at the beginning of the season, and everyone kind of, thinks, oh, we've got a decent player here. And he had a little bit of a spell where things went a bit quiet for him. Things weren't necessarily working out as he wanted to. But again, in the last couple of weeks, his performances have been exceptional. And the goal he scored on Saturday was a brilliant finish. So if we can see that again tonight, we'll all be very pleased.
And we've got Sam Cosgrove on the bench this evening. He's one of the most recent signings that Argyle have made, and yet seems to be almost one of the most missed when he's not starting. I mean, I'm sure many fans will be hoping that he will, come on as a substitution at some point, but we didn't see him on Saturday, and, there was a noticeable absence amongst the fans that he wasn't playing.
Yeah, I think he was carrying a bit of an injury on Saturday, which is why he wasn't involved, but I think the good thing with Sam Cosgrove is he gives us a different option, as opposed to Hardy or Ennis, who are more kind of players that will run in behind. Cosgrove's more of a target man, and if we need to change tactics, if things aren't working from the start, we know we've got options and can bring players off the bench who can really make a difference.
Yeah, well, will we see him tonight? It remains to be seen. Let's have a little look at our opposition once more. Shrewsbury Town. They have also picked their starting lineup. You'll see them just warming up on the pitch behind the graphic there, and there they are for you on the screen. Morosi, Leahy, Pennington, Winchester, Street, Bennett, Bayliss, Dunkley, Sadie, Shipley and Flanagan. We spoke, Katie, before as well. They are probably going to be bringing a slightly more defensive angle to the game this evening.
Yeah, quite possibly. I think when you look at their top goal scorers for the season, I think they're on 3 as their top scorer, so they don't necessarily play expansive attacking football, but they'll look to be difficult to beat. And against a side like Argyle, who can get the ball down, can play, can open teams up, they'll just be looking to keep things tight for as long as they possibly can in this game.
Yeah. Do you think Argyle will kind of be going similar format as usual, or will they have to make any drastic changes coming up against this side, or are they not presenting that much of a drastic threat?
I think they won't be too worried about the opposition. I think they're doing so well currently, playing the football that Schumacher wants them to play, that they won't be concerned about what other teams are doing. They'll just be focused on, can we go out there, can we do the same things again? Can we look to build on what so far has been a brilliant season, and keep building, and like you say, look to stay top of the league tonight? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that is the dream, to just continue seeing the Greens at the top of League One, and maybe hopefully we will have our dream come true of a playoff place, or automatic promotion come the end of the season. Of course, it all depends on what happens elsewhere in the league. So let's have a little look at some of the other fixtures that are happening this evening. There are a couple to look out for us. That is Ipswich go to Port Vale. Sheffield Wednesday, they don't actually play until tomorrow, but they are at home to Bristol Rovers. And as well, it will be a tough test for new Exeter City manager Gary Caldwell as they go to Derby. Exeter City, of course, we will be facing next come the Halloween weekend. Quite a spooky game, I'm sure that will be. So just have a quick run through of those fixtures as well. We will be bringing you, of course, updates on those games as well at half-time and full-time. Okay, we are now almost ready. It's just coming up to 7:30, so we'll be handing over to the commentary team very shortly. All that remains to be said with the action just moments away is, first of all, thank you, Katie, for being with us this evening. Katie will be back. And a reminder that you can watch this game wherever you are in the world. It will cost you just £10, and of course it's all on Argyle TV. So just head over to pafc.co.uk. You can buy the match pass, you can log in, and you'll be able to stream all the action live here from Home Park on this slightly drizzly Tuesday night. You will be in the company of former Argyle striker Ian Stonebridge and Charlie Price for all the commentary, and they will guide you through the rest of the evening until we see you again at half-time. Enjoy.
Good evening. Home Park, under the lights, is a great place to be, isn't it? Especially when you're top of the league and playing so well yourselves. It's a slightly drizzly evening. I think the rain has begun to kind of disappear a little bit, but it will be a slick old playing surface out in front of us today, and it'll be a tough game as well against a Shrewsbury Town side managed by Steve Cotterill, and who have a pretty mean defence so far in the opening 14 games that they've played in Sky Bet League One. They sit 10th, 4 points off the playoffs, and have the 7th best defensive record in the division, conceding just 1 goal fewer, in fact, than Argyle. But as we've seen throughout the season so far, the Greens don't fear many here at Fortress Home Park. And if they were to win again today, it would make it 8 games where they've gathered all 3 points at the start of this season. We are about 12 or so minutes away from kickoff, and a little reminder that before the match starts today, we will be having a minute's applause to pay tribute to Gordon Sparks. And as I speak, actually, a video of Sparks' best bits with memories of the great man himself is illuminating the big screen. Home Park is a great place to be at the moment, but it is a place that will feel a little bit different from now on. And of course, without Sparksy, this is the first time it will be sold out since his passing. But it's becoming, as I said, a bit of a fortress, and he, as we watch his commentary of glory days gone by, will be cheering on wherever he is. Ian Stonebridge, who no doubt will appear in one of these quite soon. Former Argyle striker is alongside us. He's commentated on some of Argyle's greatest moments, hasn't he?
He has, absolutely, and I think for so many people, it's Sparks' voice that they associate with the club. You know, he brings people into the ground wherever he is, and the passion that he has and his love for the club is obviously, you know, known by all, and obviously every match day I just remember as a player being here and seeing his face. Obviously, as a player, you don't necessarily experience the commentary, but you do experience Sparks' smiling face. Just that the joy that he had being around the club was fantastic, and it rubbed off on everyone. So yeah, we miss him a lot, but his voice, I'm sure, and his observations on all those games will last for a long, long time.
Etched in history. This game in particular, back in 2004, David Frio bursting past the QPR defence to promote us to the then Division 1 Championship nowadays, and that is where Argyle are looking to get to at the moment, and that is why this place is sold out week in, week out. You were around the squad at that sort of time, and there was a similar feel. If you look at the pictures on the screen at the moment, it was a full house nearly every week towards the end of that season, and we're getting that at the moment now. Do you see similarities?
Yeah, you definitely do. I think perhaps it's happening a little bit earlier in the season this time around, which is fantastic from a point of view of the club and the fans, and seeing a sell out on a Tuesday night with the weather pretty poor as it is, but people still turning out. It's great to see, and just shows you, I think, the momentum that the club has at the moment, and long may it continue.
Well, as I mentioned, that momentum has us at 7 wins from 7 at the start of the season here at home. We're on a 14-match unbeaten run in all competitions as well. Hoping to extend that going into the Devon Derby, of course, and Monday week and beyond. And let's have a reminder of the team news, shall we, for Argyle. We'll start with the Greens. 3 changes made by Stephen Schumacher for today's match. Sees Matt Butcher come in for Brendan Galloway at the back. Connor Grant come in for his first start since April in the league at the expense of the captain, Joe Edwards, and Ryan Hardy leads the line for Argyle today. Niall Ennis dropping to the bench. We're treated to a light show at Home Park. The lights are dimmed, the crowd are on their feet in anticipation. Looking at the squads, though, today, Ian, Katie and Aaron were talking about it. You know, the changes that have been made. Matt Butcher, we saw him back there against MK Dons in the 4-1 win a couple of weeks ago. An interesting choice in that position. He did well that day.
Yeah, I think that, what we can see is that we've got the ability of players to play in a range of different positions, and in across a whole season, it's vital. Players are going to have to fill in. We're not always going to have your first choice 11 as it is ready to go every time. So it's important that players like Butcher have that versatility to fill in across the pitch. He's been a really consistent performer for Argyle so far this season, and again, I'm sure tonight will be no different.
Sam Cosgrove back on the bench as well. He missed the last game with a tight calf, but the people were saying we maybe missed him in that game. It's just a little point of difference. He's been in cracking form himself as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he does offer that slightly different option up front, you know, and he's come on to great effect at various times this season already. So I'm sure the crowd inside Home Park tonight and beyond will be pleased to see him back on the bench, and he's an option that Argyle may need to call on later in the game.
Just a run through of the goals that have been scored so far this season. 30 in total for Argyle, being played on the screen whilst this light show is in full effect. It's always a great occasion really like this, isn't it? Modern day football. Some people like it, some people hate it, but you can't help but knock it because it looks superb. 30 goals the Greens have scored, which is the highest out of any team in the EFL so far this season. They've scored in every single league game too. Fingers crossed we can do it again today. Let's just have a look at the Shrewsbury team. Steve Cotterill, their coach, making a couple of changes from their 1-0 defeat to Charlton on the weekend, and those changes are at the back and up front. So Matthew Pennington comes in on the right-hand side of the back three, and Rob Street, the former Torquay United loanee, comes in up top. Rakeel Pike dropping to the bench. I mentioned, Ian, at the start that they don't concede many goals, just the 15. They don't score many either, 14 from their 14 games, which goes to show that it's probably going to be quite a tight affair out there today, you'd imagine.
Yeah, you'd imagine so, but obviously if Argyle can get out the blocks quickly, I think, tonight, and get the momentum, get the crowd behind them, you know, I'm really excited about watching Argyle going forward tonight. So, you know, it's an interesting matchup in that respect where, you know, Argyle will be looking to perhaps improve on the number of quality chances they created in the Bristol Rovers match, and certainly tonight's going to be an ideal place to do that.
We all remember that 1-0 win last season. Connor Grant grabbing the only goal of the game late on in the rain again. It's got similar sort of vibes to this evening as the crowd begins to fill up a little bit more. Just a few empty seats dotted around all over the place, but they will no doubt be snapped up pretty soon. Yesterday it was announced that in the home end at least, tonight was a sellout, and it will be the same again on Monday evening too. Light show aside, Ian, there is always a different feel to a night game, isn't there? People do seem to have slightly different feels when they come in. It does, I mean, it's not a myth that it does feel like a more fervent atmosphere.
It does. I think, you know, for everyone, there's that longer period of anticipation, isn't there, the whole day. I think as a player, perhaps it's not so enjoyable, certainly through the day in the build-up to the game, but obviously once you get here and you get out on the pitch, it's fantastic. And I know the atmosphere tonight, particularly if Argyle can give the crowd something to get behind, you know, early in the game, right from the start, I think we could be in for a real treat tonight. Yeah, and that's the crucial bit, isn't it? We heard Stephen Schumacher say in the week that it might be difficult because of the way that Shrewsbury play and their defensive record, and it is so strong. But if Argyle are to start, as we've seen them this season, especially here, on that front foot and get that early goal, then it could be a great night. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, that they score early, although that would be great if they did. Obviously, it's the showing that willingness, showing that intensity, showing the crowd that Argyle are completely up for this game tonight, and really taking it to Shrewsbury and putting them under pressure early on. I think giving something for the crowd to get behind. You know, we know that the Green Army will support and given any chance, they'll be right behind the team. So again, fingers crossed the team can come out of the blocks early tonight. Just about 5 minutes away from kick-off. A reminder that just prior to the game beginning today, we will have that minute's applause. There is a display planned in the Lyndhurst stand as well. I know Nick Tomlinson and the PAFC displays team have been hard at work over the past week, really, getting everything in place. Plastic, green and white sheets dotted on almost every chair in the Lyndhurst stand, and banners with some of Sparksy's greatest quotes from commentary will be held in the Devonport end as well. As we've mentioned, this being the first full house, the first league game since Gordon Sparks sadly passed away 10 days ago here at Home Park, and it will play host to his funeral as well next Wednesday, where anyone is invited to come, of course, and the family have also asked for anybody who does to wear Argyle colours
this was Sparks's church, as it is for so many more of us as well. 14 and a bit thousand in here today will be worshipping the players wearing green and white, and the ball kids make their way out onto the pristine turf, which, as I say, has been slightly slickened by the rain that has been falling for most of the afternoon. No need for sprinklers today. And the Argyle players are in the tunnel, waiting to be greeted by this fervent crowd. Captain for the evening, James Wilson, stood waiting and working. Well, here we go then. The players are out, slapping hands with Pilgrim Pete as they do so, and the big Sparksy is revealed in the Lyndhurst stand. The banner of the voice of Argyle, and if you look to the Devonport end, there are famous quotes of big moments in Argyle's history. The goal at that end that Peter Hartley scored in 2016, the David Freo strike that won promotion, and one of Sparks' funnier ones, which was aimed at Dion Dublin. But a fitting tribute to a great man, and hopefully we'll get a game to live up to that standard as well. These displays are always dependent on people taking part, Ian, and I'd say most have done their job.
Yeah, it looks fantastic from this side of the pitch, and you know, seeing those quotes from Sparksy in the Devonport end, you know, I know he'd be really proud to see his words held up there, and it just shows the affection that everyone has for him.
Well, they will live on forever. You can hear them now on YouTube on Greens on Screen, which of course is such a great resource for historical Argyle moments. But he will never, ever be forgotten, that is for sure. We do have a game of football, though, and Sparksy will be the first to tell you that the football's the important thing here. Argyle looking to keep their 100% records going, and that, you know, records do come to an end, Ian. You'd hope that it isn't a burden over the Argyle side, but it's been such an impressive start here. If you think of the games that we have played as well, if you look at the likes of Ipswich and Sheffield Wednesday, they've come here. Ipswich took the lead here as well. Bolton, Peterborough, Barnsley, sides that are in the top 7 and 8. Argyle have done the business over them. They now need to do it against the rest, not just those big games.
They do, and I think it's really interesting that Argyle finding themselves top, as we said, this early in the season. To me, it still doesn't feel like it's that huge pressure, or even as much pressure on Argyle as there is on some of those other teams that are in this league. You know, for Argyle, they're obviously aiming to push and get promoted this season, but I don't think it's the same pressure for them being top as it would be for some of those other clubs. So I think they can just enjoy themselves. They can enjoy the occasion. You know, having Home Park full like this is absolutely fantastic, yet again, and I'm sure the players will rise to that occasion and keep them top.
Yeah, well, it definitely seems like that sort of atmosphere around Plymouth and in Home Park especially. It is an enjoyment rather than a pressure you want rather than the one you dread. And as I've mentioned, we will be paying tribute now to the voice of Argyle, Gordon Sparks, the soundtrack of many an Argyle fan's Saturday, a Janner A-lister really. And we will stand, rise and applaud to pay respect to Gordon Sparks, who sadly passed away 10 days ago, aged 61, to losing his battle with cancer. He was a giant of a broadcaster, a giant of a man, and forever an Argyle legend.